All right. Are we on the internet?
Let me go find this.
I really like the awkward tee up because I'm never sure if we're on and we're off.
I know the awkward tip is probably it's
That's
the
how you know it's not edited. That's how you know we don't do
yeah,
this
yeah,
on purpose.
and it's the one downfall.
Hmm.
Well, I guess it's not really a downfall. Zoom is the only one that is the only web hosting or
Yeah, they got that shit on lock.
conferencing. Yeah, they don't need to fix it because it's just them.
We own it.
Yeah, we're on.
What's interesting about these, though, is we don't do this, but if one wanted to, they could record the content, edit it, and then broadcast it with the appearance of it being live. I remember when we were first going into what platform we were going to use, I was reading about what you can do with you still pay for it, right? Because you use it with all of your group stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
it's been super valuable for you, right? As a coaching
The
tool.
funny thing is that since you and I started this, I use the webinar feature once every Monday. And that's when you and I go live. Or last week, one of my homies, Misty Gilbert, and I went live to broadcast it with the option to record.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's if you go live to Facebook, like they own that video. You know, you can get some third party app to rip it. I guess would be more free, but it's whatever. But it's just yeah, most of the time that I'm webinaring, I have intentions for webinaring coming up, but most of the time it's just doing this. But this is totally valuable to me, so that's really all I care about. And
You don't use this. You don't do group calls in this. You use group.
oh,
You
I
do.
totally do group calls in Zoom. But the
Okay.
thing is that in order to broadcast to Facebook, it's like 30 extra bucks a month.
But you wouldn't need that otherwise.
No, I wouldn't. Mm-mm. I wouldn't need it otherwise. But the thing is that in some of in my group coaching, I'll broadcast the group coaching to the group.
Which is
So that
fantastic. Which is
which is
ultimately
yeah,
what I hope would
yeah.
happen with the platform, which is amazing because you can
Mhm.
coach
Yeah.
10 people but coach 100 at once. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
that's
Yeah. Broadcast the group. So you'll have like the ten people who subscribe to the group that
Mhm.
can actually click in just like you're clicked in. And then anybody else who's not can just watch.
Nice.
And so that way the content is still there and it's still able to be viewed. But if you want to interact, it's a premium. So but that's is what it is, man. Some people get value from this stuff. I've actually got a whole
I
bunch
mean,
of
it's an
things
investment.
going on in First Wakeups based off some of it's based off one of your recommendations actually from a handful of talking to you about the course or the group. I now have a monthly subscription that costs 25 bucks a month. That's once a month. It's kind of like a Stitch Fix or
Mhm.
like some sort of book club or something that you would get and they'd send you books or clothes in the mail.
Focus
Except
growth instead.
yeah, it's a focused growth. So once a month, you receive a story, a tool that I learned from that story. So it's a personal story from my life, a tool that I learned from that, how to implement it for 30 days, a book recommendation, and a podcast recommendation.
Nice.
So that way it's all on your own pace. It doesn't disrupt your bank account and it more or less eliminates the top three reasons people say no to self growth, which is most likely money, trust, and lack of time. And so it's just, if you're focused and you actually want to do it, I honestly think that for $25 and a small amount of if you and it's kind of like if you've haven't been working out and you Google what's the best workout routine and the Google's top like the first page, if you picked anything off that first page, you're going to see results. And so it's kind of like the same thing. Like if you're going from zero personal development to
Microdosing personal development.
microdosing personal development. Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is.
fundamentally.
It's just a microdose every day. And at the end of 30 days, you're going to see results. If you're focused and you do it, you know,
It's cool.
just like me and you doing this, like the first time we came on, sitting in front of Whole Foods with the wind blowing, like worried what people are going to think. I don't even know if there's people watching right now. Let me go
I
look.
don't even care.
I know it's don't even care. So
I
it's
have
just
so much things that I'm excited to talk about that I don't even give a shit who's watching. Which makes
yeah,
it
go
cool,
for it.
which makes it more fun for us, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's for anybody that may be watching who hasn't seen Dustin and I do this before. We've been doing this for probably about 9 months, and this is probably the 20th or 25th or so time that we've did this. For a really long time, we were doing it every single Monday, and then we decided a month ago to do it the first Monday of each month because it was easier for us to maintain integrity of that meeting, and to also not over, I don't know,
Yeah, I
have
think
stuff to
we
talk
went to
about.
boot
Yeah.
camp, we got what we needed out of Facebook Talk boot camp, and now we're like, we can
Yeah.
just do
No, yeah, yeah,
once a
yeah.
month. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
quality over quantity, man. I think
Yeah, for sure.
we had to do the work to get here though, where we can come up here and
hmm
shoot the
It's
real
interesting.
shit.
Last month we talked about dueling realities, and I
Mhm.
swear that's all I see for an entire month, like in the world. I know I saw a couple of posts specifically from you.
Oh, I'm so excited to fucking
Yeah.
share what I want to share with
No,
you.
go for it, dude. I'm into it. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
So first off, I think I need to talk about how excited I am about. I think we've touched on this a little bit. Operation Extrovert
hmm
and what it's teaching me. So I've told you a little bit about it. And those who haven't heard, over the last, I don't know, 6 or so months, I've been intentionally optimizing my way of thinking to seek out a more extroverted solution. So, for example, I'll have a problem pop up in my life, and I'll have solution 1, 2, and 3, and 99.9% of the time, solution 1, 2, and 3 are introverted inside solutions that I come up with that are me alone, usually acting alone. So my challenge has been to go to a fourth solution, which ultimately is an extroverted solution for me. So finding that solution outside of me and building those neurons over the last few months has been incredibly fruitful. I've been solving problems in a very unique way, building confidence in a very fun way. Basically, I've been treating extroverted like no different than a comfort zone, and I've been approaching it exactly like a comfort zone where I just go, okay, there's my edge. And then I just go do the thing. Uh,
how far into that spectrum do you like hang out at normally
on the
introvert?
introvert thing,
Yeah.
um, I would say that at my core, I'm extremely far into the introvert
Okay.
nature. And I think that as a child, I was highly this way, very introspective and self-soothing and very self-engaging and so on and so forth, very creative and inside my head. During soccer, I was watching the clouds, not the game, sort of thing. I was more impressed by the flowers growing and blowing in the wind than the soccer ball. This was just me, right? This was who I wanted to be.
No, it's totally cool. It's something. It's funny because it's not a fact that I knew about you. You know,
No.
'Cause every single time that you and I have ever shared space, it's always been in a very we.
Well, you're one of the
Yeah.
people you triggered me when I first saw you because you were the opposite of me in the sense that you were
hmm
very
hmm
extroverted, very center of attention, very high energy. So I came there in the way that we met. I came there to look at myself and to do work. I was committed to that. So you were one of the people that I suck out a relationship with, and I found out that you were super fucking rad. And my initial gut instinct on you was my own fear of
Remember
what
what you
wasn't.
said? Do you remember what you?
It's a secret wish, man. The fucking fear is a secret wish. And what I'm learning is being introverted is great and full of wonder and awesome. Wouldn't want to take that away from anyone. But being extroverted there's excellent solutions in being extroverted. There's also you can do a lot less work if you're extroverted. There's this thing called asking people to do things for you, which I've been doing a lot in leadership lately, and it's fascinating asking other people to take things on. It's been great in leadership, so I'm getting more done and working less hard, and at work in my Burning Man group, by being more extroverted and having these
Yeah.
extra thoughts.
hmm
And when you were talking about dueling reality, what we talked about last week, which is what I'm ultimately most excited to share, is as I'm like forcefully exposing myself to discomfort and exploring the relationship that I have there outside of my comfort zone and inside of my comfort zone. What I'm learning and what I'm teaching myself on accident is this incredibly brilliant Zen philosophy. And as I study Zen and realize these Zen philosophy more and more, I realize how I'm creating these results so I can actualize these understandings in my life moment to moment. And so what I came to share today is while the dueling realities is a fundamental part of our human experience, where we ultimately want to be is in the middle. And that's where the most awesome place is in the middle of those dueling realities. So not being super introverted, not being super extroverted, but being in the middle. and using each one of those things as a set of skills for a certain set of circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to come at that from the middle, being able to come at every dueling reality that you've seen in the last 30 days from the middle as a perspective instead of the two outsides, and understanding that the two outsides, their nature and their existence form a middle. Just because they exist, there automatically is a middle, which we as a culture are systematically conditioned to not see. We are polarized by the outside, and this is where we sit, and this is where we view, this is where we vote, this is where we eat, this is where we don't eat, here, and we're conditioned not to see the middle. And that's fundamentally tragic, because the middle is magic, and that's what I think Zen philosophy, his heart teaches.
It's really interesting because I saw this happen in my Facebook group today. Two people are having a conversation. Two people are both bringing up very, very valid points, very, very polarized. And it's interesting because when you're looking at them, you can see how they're at odds, yet you can see how they're both true in their own right. And so, but that energy, that conditioning really, really can hold people, some people more than others. And when you and I met, if I would have taken a Myers-Briggs test that day, it probably would have said 100% extroverted.
Yeah, totally.
And then if I take it today, I'm about 60-40. And what's up, Lexi? I'm about 60-40 on there now. And so it's really, really fascinating. And just using Myers-Briggs as an example, I'm generally, when I'm working in ENFP, with an occasional trip into ENTP. ENFP is a promoter. The ENTP is a debater. So it really depends on what's going on, depends on what the content is being displayed, and depending on my
ego development is being engaged.
Yes, that ego, it tips back and forth. So
because it depends on where it's being brought out from.
And then once it hits 7:30 at night, I go hard INFP or INTP.
Energy levels drop, and you're like,
the energy levels drops, and it's like, all right, thanks for playing, but you guys
got like self-cleaning oven sort of thing. Like, I'm just going to turn on my cleaning feature. You all need to fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because the first time when I went to the basic, and I was like a promoter, obviously.
Totally.
And then if I go to the basic now, like I'm like, I would say I skirt the line between controlling and promotion, but like moving towards the like. Yeah, it's a really interesting fascination. The more you can really start to look at those things and really notice that there is a magical middle, the more
there's a middle. Like, find it.
Yeah, it's find it. Yeah, like seek it out, actively find it. And oh man, it's been such a cool experience. So, what else you got?
Nah,
man. I mean, yeah, but no, I mean, we can keep talking about this if you want, because this thing, because it's funny because you come in here last month and you're like, hey, let's talk about this dueling realities thing. I was like, oh, what do you mean? And you're like, oh, glass half full. I was like, oh, I know what you're talking about. And then it's just like, it's one of those things that you realize you've been thinking about for years, but you didn't like have a name for it. And then as soon as you put a name on it, you're like, it's everywhere. That's why my shirt's purple, because it's not blue, it's not red. Like, it's my favorite color intentionally now. It wasn't my favorite color for a really long time. And now it's like, nope, I'm actually actively choosing purple, not because it's like most pleasing to my palate. I'm choosing it because of what it represents. And
it's so incredibly flattering to your skin tone. It looks great on you.
Yeah, you appreciate it. I've been getting some sun, man.
That's why I picked gray. Honestly, I picked gray. Most of my outfits are gray and black and white, because it's a space between black and white. I connect with that a lot.
No, man. Or your purple, brother.
No, purple's cool.
Yeah.
So what are some dueling realities? Let's play with this a little bit. So what are some dueling realities that are like anchors in your memory that you've encountered the last month, and like ones that are really feel polarizing? Let's see if we can like really actually see and see. Let's
do this.
Fucking theory.
Let's talk about the one that I saw in the Facebook group today.
Okay.
We are all operating at 100% all the time. Was the opinion. Or more, we're all doing our best all the time. And so, and I actually agree with that statement, and I'll explain why. However, ... But I'll get to that later. Based on our current level of awareness of ourself And based on the current experiences that we have, we are always acting on our best behalf as best as we can be. So like every time you make a choice into something, you're like doing your best to crunch data and pick like, okay, out of all the experiences and out of all the predictions that I know, I'm choosing this because this is the best option. Even when I choose this, my mom's going to yell at me, I'm going to get grounded.
Or even I know I'm taking 2 steps back.
Even though I know I'm taking 2 steps back, the gain that I'm going to receive immediately or the gain that I'm going to receive in a couple weeks or whatever, it's like we are always doing our best.
We justify the sacrifice one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and I think the more and I think the difference though, yeah, so that's one. Can you argue the other side? In the example that was used in the Facebook group today, which I think is a really good example, is if somebody murders somebody, you know, like goes out of their way. And I mean, and we can move the slider back and forth on the murder example a whole bunch to make this to probably prove the statement and disprove the statement. And I think that that's exactly the thing, is that yeah, and I think it's just one of those things because I believe it's 100% true, but there is an example somewhere that can disprove it.
Mm-hmm.
There is. It's just, but I think that that's just, to me, again, like I think that that's just a failsafe of the reality that we live in. Because if
the Matrix isn't built that way. The Matrix isn't built for what you're saying to be. It's not built that way. Our economy doesn't function under those rules. Our government doesn't function under those rules. Our society, our Apple Store doesn't function under those rules. It's totally not reality for us. Yet to be sane and to be functional and to be fucking connected to yourself in this world, I think you have to understand that. And that's our responsibility as teachers and as educators of our fellow humans. That's our vow almost, and our dueling interests that we both have, the team that we're on, to connect people with that understanding of that you can believe 2 things that contrast each other. You can believe both those things at the same time, and then you can allow yourself to drift in and out of why that's both true, you know. And then in doing that, if you can do that with one thing, you can do that with all things, like a cancer diagnosis or a death in the family or anything. And if you're doing it with those things, then you found the middle, and you know what enlightenment is.
I think we could talk about enlightenment too, but another example that I would use, and this is something that came up a couple weeks ago, whereas I believe with 100% without a doubt that the floor that I'm currently standing on is a projection of my own reality projecting center, the reality that I'm simultaneously producing and experiencing at the same time. I believe I believe with, it's funny because I want to say without a shadow of a doubt, I believe that that's true. I believe that this is a projection. I believe that this is a projection. I believe that it's not real, yet I'm holding it and looking at it. And so that's just like another thing. But it's funny that you say that the Matrix isn't built like that, because I think that that's exactly how it is built.
Not the whole Matrix, not the universal Matrix. The Matrix that is our Sim City that we fucking live in. Our Sim City.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
Our simulated dollar, our simulated culture. The reason that Apple's worth $10 trillion and they're selling more iPhones than they are people being born. It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's totally madness. We're just eating the planet at the fastest rate possible to do what? Sell more phones. It's crazy.
Oh man.
But it's all this simulated belief. We believe Apple is worth $10 billion because you and I and 10 million other people fucking believe that. And that's all bullshit, man. That's all in our fucking heads and on paper, hard drives. It doesn't mean shit. It means shit because we believe it. And we could stop it from existing tomorrow if we stop believing it. And that's crazy, man. Like, we are the Da Vinci's of fucking existence. Like, we are literally the architecture of all of this shit. It's totally madness, but it's fun. It's also a lot of fun.
Super fun. And so
we can do these things.
I don't remember this guy's name, but he's some astrophysicist that was on Joe Rogan. He was talking about, and Joe Rogan was asking him, it was like life in the universe or da-da-da. The guy's like, he's like, I like to keep myself within the galaxy because it's big enough to think about. Right.
Fair enough.
he's yeah, right. Well, and I liked where he went with this, and he was like, it's likely that any galaxy anywhere, even though there's billions of galaxies, that it's likely that life as we understand it and know it, one, maybe two tops in the entire galaxy. And we could completely just prove that later. And he's like, and so then he started to talk about this. He's like, because we're the only species or life, or however you want to label it, that has the ability to imagine, the only reason that anything in the galaxy has any meaning is because we can imagine what meaning is. And so, like,
I mean, imagine we're the only ones imagining it. That's the part that pisses me off.
I know it's so.
We could all be a dog's dream, dude. You have no idea.
Yeah. Oh no, totally, completely, yeah, completely true. We totally could be a dog's dream.
Totally
We
could be a
could
dog's
be
dream.
like Men in Black, like playing marbles with the galaxy. Like it could be. Dude, there's no way to prove it otherwise. There's
No.
really not.
And I find comfort in that. I find a lot of people find
Oh,
discomfort.
dude,
I find
no.
God, it's like stepping into a warm shower. It's just like, oh,
Mhm.
that knowledge feels so good to me. Like that it's just
Yeah,
infinitely possible. That anything is
infinitely
infinitely
possible. And I
possible.
think,
That means
yeah,
everyone's right. Every religion's right. Every spirituality, every denomination, everyone's right, and everyone's happy. And that's like that's perfect. Even the atheist is right. I mean, he's the most
yeah.
arrogant.
If the multiverse theory is real, there's a universe within that multiverse where it's not real.
It's possible, I suppose. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you know, and so it's good.
There's enough galaxies where there might be a god in one of them.
Maybe. Yeah, who knows?
He
And
created people.
yeah, he did. He did. If it's a he, she did, whatever.
Well said. Thank you for that.
And he says, living on a snowflake or a small ball of fluff. Yeah. Yeah. They're both true and both wrong at the same time. Like, and I think that truth and not truth is just something else that we imagine. It's something that we make up. It's a line that we draw. Yet we'll it's in Tony Santiago says it scares him. Oh man, Tony, I think this is the most freeing piece of advice ever because like
you know
we're
when you're on a
literally
roller coaster, you know when you're on a roller coaster and you go like this,
Yep.
the most fun that you can have on a roller coaster is doing this. This is what me and Ryan are talking about. Do this. This is the universe being infinite. This is not knowing the answer.
Mhm.
This is it. Oh God, it's the funnest part of the roller coaster. Like, dude, it's like taking everything off of your back.
Yeah. Just letting it go.
Let
It's
it go, man.
fascinating.
So
What's
good.
another one that's come up? Another dueling reality. The bank account is the most fascinating example that comes up for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
How I can wake up in the morning and the bank account will say one thing and I'll just be, and again, this is just like Apple, right? Being this thing. Apple is an entity that doesn't exist with the exception in our collective imagination.
Mm-hmm.
If we all decided, just like you said, to say that this doesn't matter, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
If the zombie apocalypse or something came, like money would literally, your bank account would be like, hey, the zombies are here. By the way, your bank account is now means nothing.
Yeah,
Everybody is now completely even. But so I think the funniest thing is like,
zombies, man, if the lights turned off, forget the zombies.
yeah,
If
you
the
know,
lights-
yesterday my bank
turn the lights out.
account.
Forget zombies.
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Just turn the lights off. Just
Yeah.
turn the lights off. Just pull the electricity on everybody. And
Solar
then,
flare could do that like that, dude.
yeah.
A cold start.
Oh man, this is a good one. I'm like lit up right now. It's fun.
It's definitely fun.
Mm.
I knew that it would be. I forgot about doing reality. So me coming in here talking about the middle was brilliant. I had no idea.
No, it's funny. It's Lexi says yes, and like, what the heck is money, and why do we all play along with it when it causes so much unhappiness? I actually, Dustin did a Facebook post. What did your Facebook post say? Literally right before we came on.
The one that was old that I commented on.
The descendant of our expectations are the no.
It started with Descendants. It was pretty nice. I'll get to it. Hold on.
Yeah. It's I don't know, Lexi. I really don't, because I think it's just like anything else to me. Money, dogma, you know, no, not polygamy, the other one, monogamy, like all these systems that are just put in place to keep us as controlled as possible. And that control of which we have all agreed to, because we're all agreeing to it, because I just moved a bunch of money around yesterday and today to make my life more efficient you know, and it was like, oh, yesterday my life's struggling. And then I just moved some zeros over here and moved some zero over there and be like, oh, my life is so free. I don't know why. Like there's a dueling reality there because we're having the conversation about it. I know it doesn't mean anything, but there's definitely some part in the programming. Oh, don't get me started on time, Tony. Don't you do it, homie.
Huh.
Man, we could talk about time. Time to me,
Disappointment is the descendant of expectation.
there it is. Disappointment is the descendant of expectation. Yeah.
Oh, that one just fell out of my head a year ago. I like it though. Very heavy.
Yeah, I've been doing that lately. I've just been checking in with my memories and just like reposting the stuff that's good.
Yeah, the way to handle that, don't share it because you'll get less street.
I copy and paste it.
No, well that works too, I guess. Or you could just comment on your post. Does
You know
that-
what's funny is that I've been having a challenging time doing that.
like,
Tony, I don't think time is real. I think time is something we process just like we process touch, sight, hearing, taste, or anything else. I think
time,
it's something that-
yeah, time is not real. If you want to understand time, start imagining time as you imagine sound. So close your eyes and imagine time as coming out of nowhere and evaporating into nowhere instantaneously. So as a thought experiment, like imagine that you're no longer seeing with your eyes, you're only seeing with your ears, and the way that things enter and go out of nowhere, that's time. It's nothing other than right now in the single moment that we're in, suspended there forever. That's all that it is.
Here's a dueling reality for you. Daniel Franco says society is the longest running game of pretend ever. And my question to everybody who's just heard me say that, why are you still playing the character that you're playing? If you can find the answer out to that, you can change literally anything in the universe. I think so. It might be true. It might not be.
Anything in my universe for sure.
Anything in mine. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Space.
There's a really cool documentary on Netflix called Jim and Andy. It's got Jim Carrey. It was a documentary that was filmed during a movie he made.
Oh, that's the movie that made Jim Carrey go crazy.
Yeah, dude, you got to watch. And they filmed the documentary like 15, 16 years ago. This is way too ahead of our time, and they didn't publish it till just like a couple years back.
Because that shook his fucking cage, man.
It really shook him up because you got to watch that. So the movie is called The Man on the Moon, and it's not necessary to watch the movie prior to the documentary, but I would suggest it because in my dueling reality, it makes the documentary better.
What the cool thing about the dueling reality and the idea of the middle is what I've been saying for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, pretty much since I started doing ice baths. The point of being human is contrast. Like if all you could see was me, you couldn't see anything because my edges would be undefinable. And so the fact that I have a background is how you can see my face. So contrast is what makes you able to have experience with me when you don't hear my voice talking, for example. If all you heard was the sound that my throat makes, you would hear nothing. It's the spaces in between the sounds that create the language. And so if you didn't have contrast, there would be no meaning, there would be no experience. And so ultimately, I think I've reverse engineered that understanding through this new way of thinking with this middle and this dueling reality concept. And it's very interesting to have gone full circle with the thought. And now I feel like I'm finally at a position where I can communicate it intelligently to other people instead of just being like, burr, 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 and trying to fucking communicate something that I don't fully understand. I'm sure you've done before.
I love that. There's the movie Her with Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix. She plays like an AI.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really good. There's this quote at the end, and she talks about reading a book, like your favorite book that you've ever read, except this time, like when you read it, like reading it super, super slowly and very intentionally, and spending space and time like in between each word and like enjoying that, like, and just drawing it out, like that infinite in between each of those words. And she's like, and then she talks about like living there. And so your analogy about the voice, it's not actually the throat that's making the noise, it's the echoes and the vibrations of the space in which it's
Yeah,
exiting.
the empty space, man.
The empty
Without it, it would
space.
just be a
And so
fucking
it's really fascinating,
sound.
which is also another interesting thing too. In my work with everybody I work with, I have everybody come up with a theme. Like if you could have your children, the people that you, or the people of the world, like whomever, if you could have them experience anything at all, one thing, and you could only answer one thing, like what would your answer be? And for the longest time, mine was like a freedom of self-expression. And mine actually, I crossed it out and I rewrote it right on my whiteboard. I crossed it out, and mine is now space and time. Like just to be able to experience space, experience time, like to be able to experience that as freely as possible, and to,
Yeah,
let go of as much as you can.
I think if that's all you're experiencing is if all you're experiencing is space and time, then you're practicing all of the forms of like self-optimization.
Yeah.
You're not judging. You're not in a state of anxiety because you're not thinking about the future. You're not in a state of depression because you're not thinking about the past. You're just effortlessly floating in a place that is basically like zero gravity and very rich if you get there, because something will come out of your mind if you sit in that space long enough. Something that will be awesome. That's how any of this stuff is real. The only reason that we believe an iPhone is real because someone thought about it.
Because somebody thought about it.
And now everyone's thinking about it. Now they're real.
Everybody's thinking about going to Mars right now. We're going to go to Mars.
Yeah, keep pointing that finger, baby.
Colonizing Mars, and we will colonize Mars. Everybody's thinking about the destruction of the planet. We will destroy the planet. We
are destroying the planet. That's how
currently in progress, and some of us will go with it. Some of us will go with that destruction, and some of us will make it out to the next spot.
Yeah, because
whatever that means.
Because reality destruction is a form of creation.
Fuck yes, it is 100%.
So it's all relative, and then when you exist in that present moment, all of that becomes awesome and beautiful, regardless of the impact or vibration that might come therewith in. It's all still.
Man, this brings me back to when Tony was actually on here with us, and we were talking about the ground level view and the 30,000 view, and one's like a view of chaos versus peace. But then I just thought of like one of those tools, and you're like tilling, you're just like with your hand, just like moving soil around and getting it there, which is a very peaceful thing. But if you zoom down far enough to the creatures that are living in that space, and so it's all a matter of perspective.
When you zoom into the cells that are getting oxygenated and moved and feeling the energy of that, well, it's the different levels. It's different things are happening.
Completely different level. Just
at the neuron level, or not the neuron level, at the atom level, it's all gravy, baby.
It's all great.
No matter what. On an atomic level, everything's always all good.
Always in the middle.
Yeah. It's always balanced. It's always balanced.
Because it doesn't have the imagination to like.
It's always balanced. Balance is the only way to describe it. Because it isn't really a middle, it's a wave, honestly. The pattern, and it's a wave. Like everything else. I love you, man, so much.
I love you too, bro. This is good stuff.
Very nice.
Very, very good.
The next time you talk to me, I will have finished Burning Man 2019.
Yes, you have. I'm stoked about it.
It's going to be nice, man.
We started this right after you got back from Burning Man last year. That's when we started it. It was right after you got back from Burning Man.
That was our first one.
I think that McCara and I are going to both end up going next year. And I think we might bring the girls too.
Yeah, I think you can make it work with the family.
And that was something too. Then I was thinking about that because I was thinking about doing it this year.
I think it'd be good for all of us.
And I was just like, man, I just don't see it going by myself. It's just not now. The Pippin's too young. Girls are too young. It's just not the right.
The seed is still deep in the soil.
Oh no! Well, you know what? Really, it's like the seeds, like kind of, it's like there in the little hole in the dirt. The seeds kind of like sitting. The seeds, you can like see it. Like my fingernail's a seed. You can still see it popping out. McCara walked by one day. She's like, "What do you think of Burning Man?" And I was like, let's just push that right all the way back down there. And so,
well, simultaneously that seed was going in your butt. You're like, whoa,
yeah. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna go next year, man. I think we're gonna go. Pippin will be 2 or nearly 2. Charlie will be 4. She'll be older than 4, and it's gonna be a shit show, and we're all going to come back cooked. But I
Yeah,
think it's
it'll
going
be
to
a
be
blast.
really
You guys
good
are gonna
for us
really enjoy
all. Like really,
yourselves.
really amazing.
Take some good workshops, learn about each other. I think what an idiosyncrasy of Burning Man, that since it's in the context of our conversation we've been having today, something that it will achieve for just about anyone is if they are still fully under the matrix and they're still fully living in the matrix, unaware of the matrix, fully plugged in, like
Mm-hmm.
Neo or Morpheus or anybody, uh, this will break them. It will break them in a way that will heal them, that they will come from in a very nice way. The Matrix will
That's
the Matrix will never be seen the same after ever, and it
hmm.
may not happen instantly. It may happen a year, it may happen 6 months from now, but there will be a de-evolution of a paradigm and the evolution of a new one,
Mm-hmm.
just going one time.
Mm-hmm.
I think 4 out of 5 people have that experience.
Hmm. Who's the fifth person in your opinion?
The fifth person is the
Let
really.
me ask that question again. Who is that fifth person in your like that you in your imagination you've created? What version of yourself is that?
I wouldn't say that version of myself because this isn't really how I approach the thing. I think the only way that someone would miss out on Burning Man is if they externalize too much of their responsibility and didn't take the creed of radical self-reliance seriously. And it's called what's called the plug and play experience, where you pay a lot of money and you show up at a camp and you don't really have to do the crazy thing on the line to try to get a ticket. You don't really have to build anything. Like I'm going out 4 days
You go a
early.
week early and you build stuff. Yeah.
Build shit. Like I work my ass off, man, to build this beautiful camp that people get to enjoy. So I think doing it that way, you maximize your return on investment. I think the less effort and the less suffering and the less contribution you make, the less return you get on your investment. I think the more that you
And then it could
contribute,
just be like a party.
yeah, it can be like a party. So even that fucking guy, though, even that guy who's there to fucking party is gonna have an existential crisis. And maybe next time he comes back to
Mhm.
Burning Man, he might do a little bit more. He might get a little bit more of the ethos at a different level. And that's what's cool about it is it'll change everyone in the way that they need to be. You know, it's the alchemy
Yeah,
that everyone is
specific
missing.
time. Yeah.
Doesn't matter who
It's like
you are.
another experience.
It's like flying to Mars and just checking in and being like, "Whoa, here we are. We're on the surface of Mars and we're setting up tents."
Mars. Speaking of Mars, if you have not read the book The Martian, I dare you to read that book. It's amazing. I
I want
laughed and cried. Like it was like an emotional and like I remember finishing the last page and just closing that book and just like sobbing into my hands. It was so amazing. It was
I
so good.
love
Giving it to
crying.
clients. Hmm.
I cry a lot, man. I cry
Me too,
probably
bro.
6 times a week, maybe
Me
more.
too.
But it's like usually in like these heightened states of gratitude. So I've been snorting
Oh,
gratitude like a motherfucker. I'll just
yeah.
sit and think about things that I'm grateful for until I get high as fuck, dude. It's nuts. Like it's crazy how high it gets me just sitting focused, like focused meditation on gratitude, where I'll just think about all the things from simple things like filtered water to things like I won't say, but big picture things. I'll sit and I'll think, and sometimes they're dreams. Some things are things that aren't even real yet, and I'll be so grateful that I have those dreams, that those get to be my dreams, that those are the things that I'm dreaming about creating. And then I'll just cry, and then I'll move on. It's fucking crazy. It's amazing. I go to work feeling like incredibly good because I've had a good cry on my way, and I'm like wiping my eyes through the parking lot at work. It's amazing though. It's like it's the one of the best drugs I've ever done. It's just
Yeah.
getting high on gratitude. Incredibly useful.
I don't know if I told. Oh shit! Just speaking of, um, I met this guy just a little over a month ago, maybe not even quite a month. I don't know if I told you about this. And he was a friend of a friend. This couple was on my podcast. I'm gonna see if I can tell this in a short story. So I'm gonna hop up here pretty quick. So about a month ago, a friend of mine was going to their zoo concert in the summer. Like they have Wednesday night, they have zoo concerts, like a family thing. And so, hey, can you guys come? We have friends here that he wants to become a coach. I think he should meet you. Da 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 da. So I go there and meet. We go there, bring the family. We all go there and meet. And then her, Kimi, my former business partner, one of my really good friends, and this girl, Courtney, had met on some Instagram coaches $80 package. And more or less, they've been practicing for like 207 days. Every single day, they send each other a voice memo that says, this is what I'm grateful for. This is what my day looks like as if it's already happened. And this is what my year looks like a year from now as it's already happened. Tony, you want to talk about changing time and space? Like, so um, me and her guy friend, I was like, we're doing this. We're starting tomorrow. And we've been doing it for like 5 weeks. And it's like a really, really cool practice. Like really, and then once you get the other person's voice memo, you up level their year, because we often have a very challenging time projecting how amazing our year from now is going to be, because we're so married to the pain on occasion, and we'll project that a year out instead, and so it's been a really cool process. Just do that every day. And even like on the days that are like super challenging, you're finding yourself in it, and then I like start this voice memo. It's like,
are you guys using WhatsApp to send those voice memos?
we started just a voice memo on our phones. We both had iPhones, but we shifted it to Marco Polo because we can see each other's face. And the cool thing too is that for us, like two dudes, it's been really cool to stay in our negative emotions and like really allow them to be out. Like, hey, I'm not doing great right now. I'm feeling like really crappy.
Just to name it, just to fucking name it, like how much therapy.
Honestly, yeah, it's been a really, really cool
man.
practice.
What a cool little coaching thing that you're doing for yourself, and definitely for him too.
Dude, I could trust me. I need it just like everybody else does.
Yeah, we all do, man. If you're not fucking coaching yourself, you're a madman. How are you going to be a teacher if you're not teaching yourself? Like, if you can't teach yourself, you can.
Well, that's one of the things. And so it's just like that conversation in the Facebook group, and just observing that and just kind of watching them go back and forth, and not like jumping into it too much and not taking sides. And it's also interesting to, it's just interesting to just, for me, to watch people react to each other. And then to me also, because I believe that those people reacting, and which I'm observing, is just me observing my own reactions of their reactions.
Totally.
And then it's just like, oh, okay, I totally thought that was completely true, but then this person said that, and it was like, and so it's just like a really cool opportunity. So that Facebook group for me is really just a testing ground to push my own envelope. And
how much fun you get to have by having a flexible position in what you think. Like if your thinking was rigid, you'd be missing out on all this tremendous joy.
Missing out on so much,
right? Like, well, if we could ever give anyone a gift, be flexible in your thinking. Like, life is so much more fun if you're flexible in the way that you think. Allow the thought to shift from one side of the pole to the other, and maybe on the middle, maybe for a while. And if the middle sucks, go back to the side that felt better. But explore that spectrum, because that spectrum is what life is about. That's why we're here on Earth, to explore, not to live on the fucking North Pole.
And as soon as you realize that you like, because we'll hang out in that spot that makes us like ultra filled with joy, and then, or we'll avoid it at the same time, but that's another conversation. We'll hang out on that spot that brings us joy, and then over a time it'll just kind of plateau out. But we just hang out there because of the memory. And
the memory.
To leave that space to realize that it's no longer good for you, and that it can actually be, for that was something very good for a really long time, could be something that's now causing you detriment. And you can only do that when you walk outside of that space yourself,
If you think about it in nature, nature proves what you're saying to be for sure factual. If you look at a tree, the way the tree grows amongst other trees, if a tree were to find this sunlight and be like, this is fucking great, I'm just going to stop growing here forever. And then now all the other trees grow over, and now there's no more sunlight. Like, this is not the way nature aligns growth. Period. Like, we're part of nature, no matter how much we like to separate ourselves. We are the crown jewel, I think, of this planet. Like, our consciousness is literally the coolest thing in our galaxy, probably. And Earth created us. We were a byproduct of her ecosystem and her contrast, ultimately going through her mirage of contrast, from the weather, through everything, to the volcano, to all of it, to get here. We are a product of every one of that. It's like a fucking mouse. What are the mousetrap game of evolution, levels of contrast. And now we're humans, this crown jewel of evolution. So of course we have to keep growing. Of course you can't stay in that super great joy spot. You have to find the next plateau.
Yeah.
to find the next plateau, the next learning curve that you can use as a launch ramp to that next place, the next level of ascension.
Yeah, I think most people won't realize too that being in a heightened state of joy is way out of our comfort zone as well. It's one of those things that most people are not like cool with being in.
Yeah, heightened state of joy
Like
is
that heightened state of joy. Like imagine all the times that you've been standing around, you're like, everything in the world is so good. And then you're like, something bad's about to happen. You know? And like we do that to ourselves all the time.
sometimes.
Yeah. Cool, brother.
Did you recorded this one, right? I feel like this one
I
should
didn't. I didn't. Well, it's on Facebook Live. Like I just got to rip the file. It exists.
it exists.
You know, it's in Steve freaking what's his name? Ryan Zuckerberg? Steve Zuckerberg?
Cock Zuckerberg.
I don't know his name. Mark Zuckerberg. It's in his basement right now.
We're all
Yeah. Yeah, it's in the ether. It exists right here. No, this was a good one.
Hopefully it exists in the hearts and minds of one person.
Yeah, man.
Besides us.
Yeah. Thanks for everybody who come and hang out with us today. We appreciate you.
Yeah,
And, we will be back on the first Monday of September.
Super Monday. I might be on the road. I might look like shit, but I'll show
That's
up.
okay. Yeah, you will. All right, homie.
I literally might be on the road, but
Right on. Peace, brother.
later,
Love you
bro.
so much. Talk to you soon.
Likewise.